Hey guys, Dan here for BladeReviews.com, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Benchmade 581 Barrage. Really handsome folding tactical knife from Benchmade here. I love the details on this knife. I love the materials. I'm really excited about this one. So let's dive on in, start things off with some quick specs, and then get on with the review here. So to start us off, we've got an overall length for the 581 of 8.35 inches. We've got a 3.6 inch long blade and a weight here of 4.2 ounces. So larger knife, but definitely light for its size, I think. Let's compare it with a couple other classic folding tactical knives. First up, I've got a Spyderco Paramilitary 2. This is a really common knife found in a lot of collections. And then I've got another one here. I've got the Benchmade Griptilian. So both of these are likely to already be in your collection if you're a fan of folding tactical knives. So here you have it. The 581 is just a little bit bigger. It's got a slightly longer blade, and it's going to definitely hold its own against most of the typical folding knives in your collection, I think. So let's take a closer look here. The first thing I want to say is that this is a Warren Osborne design, and when we're looking at the blade, I think it's interesting because he's known for doing a lot of reverse tantos and kind of funky blade shapes for Benchmade, which I've always enjoyed. The 581 is much more understated. You've got just a classic drop point here with a little swedge along the top and a high flat grind, almost a full flat grind, and a little bit of belly, and definitely plenty of real estate here for your edge, since this is like a 3.6 inch long blade. The tip is pretty stout. You've got 3 millimeters of blade stock, and it holds up right to the end, so very functional. It's going to work for a lot of tasks. You can see this has got something of a satin finish, and it's kind of catching my camera here a little bit, so a handsome blade. But perhaps more interesting here is the steel they selected, and in this case we've got Bowler M390, and this is labeled as a super steel. This is a high-end steel from Bowler, and I'll tell you, very, very impressed with the performance of this steel. This is my first experience with M390, and it will not be my last. I am really, really, really pleased with the way this thing holds an edge. I've been carrying and using this one for a while and have yet to find occasion to sharpen it. It just, once it's got that edge on there, it just holds on to it. But I understand that when I will have to sharpen it, it's going to take a little work. It might take some time, so I'm going to have to sit down, maybe attack it with some diamond stones and bring it back to life. So that's the caveat to these high-end hard steels. And this, I believe, has been given a heat treat, leaving it between 60 and 62 HRC. And some of these steels, you know, they'll hold an edge forever, but when it comes time to sharpen them, it's not going to be like Aus 8, so we'll leave it at that. All right, let's take a closer look at the handle here, which is just stunning. I don't know about you, but I really love the contrast between the G10 handle scales and the aluminum bolsters on this thing. Now, I understand it's not going to be to everybody's tastes. Might be a little too over the top, but it's just unique, it's different, and it's been beautifully done. So I'm a big fan, actually. I like it a lot. May not be the most practical material if you're going to carry this knife in cold weather circumstances, but down here in Florida, it's really not much of an issue. So, you know, hey, is what it is, I guess. But I just love the way that it's been done. It's been really beautifully finished. Take a look inside. You'll notice that there are some milled out full stainless steel liners, which is what part of what accounts for this 4.2 ounce carry weight. And it seems like kind of a two-dimensional handle, but it's actually quite thick. And I just love the way that it feels like it's been sort of laser cut out. And it's got some depth, it's got some character, and it's got just a touch of class, so I really do like it. Of course, everything is screwed together. You've got a long back spacer here, and you've got just a wonderful job. Let me show you what it looks like in hand. Fits my large hand comfortably. Down here, you've got some kind of, it seems like it's decorative sort of texturing, but it catches your finger nicely. So in addition to looking cool, it does serve a purpose. I will say that I wish that this knife had a little bit of jimping up top here. It definitely could use a little bit. They don't have to cut up this nice aluminum, but maybe if they just put a little bit of texturing in the liner here. You know, I'm never a big stickler for jimping. It's never a make it or break it kind of feature to have on a knife for me, but here it would be appreciated, I think. But I'll tell you, I sometimes choke up on the knife a little bit like this too, so it just depends on what your style of use is going to be. Let's throw it in reverse grip real quick. I know most people don't use their knives in reverse grip, but it's nice to see, and it does feel very comfortable. So there you have it, 581 in reverse grip. Works great. Let's take a quick look at the pocket clip here. You've got a standard Benchmade split arrow clip, absolutely classic clip here. Nice blackened finish. It will show wear, but if you ever wanted to, you could contact Benchmade and they'll send you another clip or two. It is tip up, ambidextrous carry. No tip down here because you've got this axis lock, so just kind of makes it impossible. But tip up is honestly my preferred method of carry, so I'm quite all right with that. So. And if you like the axis lock, chances are you're gonna already be used to tip-up carry. So let's talk a little bit about the deployment here. What we've got are ambidextrous thumb studs, we've got an axis lock, and we've also got an assisted opening mechanism. So this is an axis assist knife and comes out fast. I really was impressed with the way this knife came out. This is my first assisted opening axis lock knife, and man, it just sings, and really impressed with it. Now, for everyday use, I really don't need an assisted opening knife. For example, something like my Benchmade Griptilian here. I mean, this thing, comes out as fast as I would ever need it to. But if you're looking for a tactical knife, I sometimes, I do see the merits to an assisted opener, and I tend to like that, because if you're under stress, you want to be able to just open this thing up. You don't want to be screwing around if you've actually got to use the knife in that kind of scenario. So I can totally appreciate the assisted opener here. One other thing I wanted to talk about was that Benchmade included a safety lock, so you can lock the knife open and you're not going to be able to disengage it, or you can lock it closed, which is very important, I think, for an assisted opener that's going to be carried tip up in your pocket. Now, I know not everybody needs to or wants to use a lock on their assisted opening knife, but when you've got something that's going to be riding tip up, I like having the option, because if this thing opens up in your pocket and you don't realize it, it could cut you pretty bad. So I like that Benchmade included that safety lock there, and I don't mind the assisted opening at all. Of course, what we've got here for lockup is an axis lock, and that's one of my all-time favorites. It's very sturdy, very robust, no blade play at all. And to finish things off, I wanted to call your attention to one more small detail, and perhaps you've already noticed it, but the pivot here has actually been covered by this aluminum bolster. Now, not only does that look really clean, but I think it's just a very bold statement by Benchmade about their quality control and level of fit and finish. Now, as I already mentioned, there's no blade play at all here, and if you take a look at the blade centering, it's absolutely perfect. I'd go almost so far as to say that it's very close to Chris Reeve tolerances. There's a little more room in between the blade and the liners here, but it's very tight tolerances, and just goes to show the confidence that Benchmade has in their quality control and the amount of pride that they take in their level of fit and finish. Now, whether or not this knife will need some tuning down the road, I mean, it's hard for me to really say, but for now, I'm extremely impressed and very pleased with the overall level of fit and finish. It's just one more detail that really sets this knife apart for me. So that's pretty much the review, guys. To wrap things up, I'm a huge fan of this knife. It's just been beautifully made, top-notch materials. Of course, this one is a USA made knife, so I like that a lot too, and I'm just walking away with very favorable impressions. The only point of constructive criticism that I could find was perhaps adding a little bit of texture to the back of the thumb ramp here, but aside from that, there's nothing I would change. So if you want my opinion, if you're on the fence about this one, I would say go ahead and get it. I've really been impressed with mine and have greatly enjoyed carrying and using this very interesting offering from Benchmade. Alright guys, that's the review. Thank you so much for watching. Again, this is Dan for BladeReviews.com. Take care, be safe, and I'll be back soon with another knife review.